Welcome to Forward Focused. In each episode, we're helping you take another step toward becoming an effective, well-rounded leader. I'm your host, Jon Reusch, and in today's episode, we're interviewing the one and only Stacy Peardon. I'm so excited for you to hear not only what she's learned in her life and in her business, but the key that she says took her to the next level, big relationships. So without further ado, here we go. Well, the Stacy Peardon, thanks for being in the house today.
It's my pleasure.
I appreciate it. And special to me because I chose you for our first interview. I wanted to have you as our first guest, so thank you.
I'm honored.
It means a lot, so thanks.
It's very cool.
Super excited about hopping into your story today, a little bit about who you are, your journey to the mega businesswoman you are today with your hands in so many different pots and different people that you're a part of. So I'm super honored to have the conversation. So really where I want to start with it is tell me a little bit about how you've gotten to where you are today. So let's go back to the beginning. How'd you get your start? What did you do as young Stacy Peardon?
It's actually kind of one of my unique stories, very unique with how it all came about with real estate. It was not something that I was ever planning on getting into. That happens to a lot of people, but I started answering phones at a RE/MAX office in, 1994, 1993. I think I was 15.
Yeah.
And just that was my job through high school. And as soon as I graduated from high school, I obtained my real estate license. And I started sitting in models for some of the agents. And then I became an assistant to another agent at a Coldwell Banker office, who will later become my husband.
So you left RE/MAX though?
Yeah.
Were you ever an agent at RE/MAX?
No.
Okay, so
I had my license while I was there, but I was never an active agent. Because again, I was just doing that to be able to sit in the models, get extra money while I was going to college.
Sure. Okay.
I went to Walsh and Oakland.
Okay.
So
what were you studying?
Marketing.
Marketing. Okay.
Yep.
Cool.
Interestingly, I never actually got my degree. So to the dismay of my mother, it ended up working out.
Yeah, I would say it worked out.
But my husband is more of he came from an education background. So he eventually segued into the leadership role in real estate in Keller Williams. We came over to Keller Williams in 2000. So after that, he started to kind of go down that road, and I maintained the sales. So I started taking over the sales team, and that's the way it is today.
Okay. So before we get into some of that piece of it, let's go back to one thing you said there. So what do you think was a valuable lesson you learned in having those different experiences and being more of the back end admin side of things? What's the one thing that you see carrying through in your business today that you learned in those early on years?
Well, for one, it made it easier to train the people that I hired because I knew what they needed to know. It's kind of humbling. Not a lot of people start out that way. They're in other careers, or they become an agent right away and then they hire somebody. So it's kind of hey, I know all the nitty gritty stuff that needs to be done. And the business has evolved over time, but still, just have a good foundation for things. There's really nothing you could pull over me, so I guess you can say.
Foundational for you, and then it kind of has been that for all your training as you've grown your organization and through the future of your business.
Yep, I can identify with licking a stamp all the way up to selling a $2 million property.
It reminds me of a quote I've seen or heard. It's you're not necessarily paying for the 30 minutes right now. You're paying for all the years, the experiences, what I've learned through my time that got me here today. Right?
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. So that's awesome. Very relatable too. Cool. Before we get deeper into your story, what do you do for fun? I always like to ask people, right? We're not just robots. We're not just business people. You've mentioned your husband.
Yep.
Talk to me a little bit more about your family and personal life.
Well, I'm married still.
Congratulations.
Big win on that.
Yeah, that's right.
And we have 2 teenage sons, Luke and Blake. They
Very
are 14 and 12. And They are very active in sports. So we are a big sports family, primarily travel soccer, a little bit of school basketball. And my older son is, he's really making his way in cross country and track now. So yeah.
Setting records, doing his thing.
Yeah. Yeah. He's breaking out. So we do a lot of that. A lot of running around for that is in our extra time. But about 3 years ago, I moved from Macomb Township to Waterford on Lake Oakland. And that has been like a life-changing thing for me because honestly, it's what God needed for me and my family. We spend a lot more time together. I've met some awesome new friends, and we recreate a lot there.
Yeah.
You know, it's just from being on the water, water sports, bonfires, barbecues. I'm just looking at the water when I get up in the morning. That's a very centric to what I do for fun now, is just hang out at my house and my neighbors, and it's fun.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
What I hear in that too is that you have a better sense of balance today. And we're going to get into that a little bit later around the culture of your organization and how that's important, because I think the working 100 hours a week and look at how hard I work and how much I work, I think there's a place for that. And I also think people are waking up to the notion that that's not necessarily something to be proud of long term.
Exactly. That's a big struggle for me. Not anymore as much, but I'll tell you, before I moved, I worked a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, this whole, building this whole thing up, props to whoever can figure out how to get there without doing all of that.
Sure.
But I mean, from coaching to being forced to have balance and all that kind of stuff, I really didn't get it or execute on it until I moved.
Right.
And now I was like, forget it. I do not want, I need to have this.
Right.
You know, this is important. So it's been a huge life changer for me.
The cool thing about what you just said there is once you become number one, whether it's local or regional or international, if you continually have that startup mentality, right? You continually look at how can I innovate myself, disrupt myself? What is the one thing our competitors doing better than us? And how can I adopt that? You'll never be disrupted. And there's proof in that in certain companies. And then there's other companies that they grew complacent and they kind of grew stagnant. And you haven't done that.
I was just going to tell you, that's how I feel in my little micro company.
Yeah.
I recently went and spoke to a group of financial advisors at a company, and I just had 30 seconds to introduce myself and tell them how I might be able to help them with some of their clients. And the way that I explained it was, I work with Keller Williams Realty, the largest real estate company in the world, the largest real estate company in our county. And I really love that I have that backing, that foundation support where I can pluck the tools that I personally want to use from the company. I don't use all of them, but I can pluck the ones I want, and I have that huge base. But that Keller Williams actually allows you to run your own mini company under their umbrella.
Right.
So I can stay individualized. So that's why I honestly have not, you got a couple options. You could go to another franchise company if you're, looking to always kind of keeping your eye open for opportunities, or you can go out and open your own brokerage. And if you really look at the successful people across the industry, they haven't done that. And there's a reason, because why? It's easy. I can keep doing the things that I need to do without disruption that I'm focused on. It's helping people buy, sell, and invest in real estate.
And you're focused on your key rocks.
Yeah.
Right. And you're not going to wear 30 hats because the 5 you're already wearing is probably enough.
That goes back with the balance thing. I mean, no disrespect to anybody. There's people in totally different stages of their career.
Absolutely.
Mine, where I'm at right now, is of course I want to be successful. Yeah. You don't want to come to work every day and not be successful. But it's more of, if I can pay my bills, save a little, send my kids to college, have enough to help other people, donate, and then kind of see other people succeed around me and not have to work 500 hours a week, it's a good life.
Yeah.
And so I'm kind of there at this moment. Looking for ways to grow and help others and all of that, but not to the point where I want to dominate the universe.
Sure. And the reason I selected to talk to you first is because it's one thing to have a great year or a good stretch of years. You've had a great career. And I think sometimes people see this person who is sitting in front of us today running different businesses, and what they don't see is like the time on the task. They don't see the systems and the strategic hires and the failures, right? And I want to kind of transition into some of those conversations. So, about 4 or 5 years ago, you had a breakout year.
Yeah.
Right? Talk to me a little bit about what that breakout year was like, and how did you keep the noise out of that focus, or did you let the noise in a little bit?
The noise is always there. That's one of my biggest struggles, that I have to pull myself back in, because I easily could go towards the noise, and a lot of people do. Mm-hmm. 2016, that was my breakout year. But it was more like a lot of the relationships that I had been cultivating started to become fruitful.
Yeah.
A lot of the contacts, just all those slow things that you're like, is this ever really going to come to fruition here? Yeah. They did. It was kind of all dropped that year.
Yeah.
So it gave me, what it did was it gave me the juice to keep going, and it gave me the leverage to be able to invest in kind of the next stuff that I wanted to do.
So talk to me about what kind of production you did that year, and with how many team members. Because I think sometimes, especially when somebody hears how many units you did with the volume, they're going to say, oh, well, if you have 20 people.
Yeah.
Talk to me about that a little bit.
In talking with my team members and really going back and forth of what the best thing is for us and what our vision is, I've let other people kind of jab in there a little, and then other, seeing other teams do certain things. Sure. And all around the country and all that kind of stuff. It's oh, wait, yeah, that's what I want to do. And I know I can do that. And it's just not where I want to be. So we have a small team. So my ideal scenario is to keep it tight, allow the people that are on the team to realize more from that. So get more out of less is basically what it is. It's just me, other people are killing it, doing it these other ways.
Sure.
No disrespect, but for me, I would like to have 10 people or less on my team, and all be kind of benefiting, whether it's balance, time off, financial gains, other things down the line. Other people have branched off from my team and done their own thing, and so we'll replace that person or whatever. But it's enough. I like to have personal relationships with the people on our team and help them and spend time with them and get to know them. And I couldn't do that with 30 people.
Right.
And still have the balanced life that I want to have.
That you're looking for.
I could if I wanted to really pour myself more into the career. So we have that year we had 6 people on our team, and we did about just under 30 some million around that.
I think it was around 38 million.
Yeah.
And it was over 150 transactions
last year.
But then you've grown, right? That's what I was.
Yeah. So my production last year was right around the same production as 2016.
Right.
Because I started doing a lot of tasks just okay. I started spreading myself too thin.
Right.
I didn't focus on what I was really good at, and I started squirreling, oh yeah, we can get into video. Oh yeah, we can get into, Zillow. Oh yeah, we can get into radio. Oh yeah, we can get into this. Oh, and we didn't do anything really, really well, and I got away from my main relationship foundation. So for a couple of years there, I was
sure. So it's Jane of all trades, master of none. And so what was the wake up call for you? How did you refocus yourself? I think entrepreneurs across this country they experience the success, especially when it's been years of building up to that, and then they hockey stick, right? Yeah. And they have this breakout year or two.
Yeah.
How did you refocus yourself? I'm sure part of that was taking a hard look at yourself, checking the ego a little bit, going, wait a minute, I don't need to be in all these things. Talk to me about that. How did you refocus and get repurposeful on that?
It's like a mind game all the time with me because I'm a really competitive person. So I always want to win.
Yeah.
But
you need to define what winning means,
first of all,
right?
yeah, exactly. That's perfect.
Yeah.
And winning in numbers doesn't necessarily mean like the health of my finances or whatever. I mean, you can have a trophy, but if you have no finances, then what are you really winning? So I think a lot of that noise started to come in. You should get bigger. You should do more. You should have more people. This is how you should run your team. And I allowed that to come in, and I allowed even my own team members to shift my mindset.
That.
Yeah. And then I started making decisions, knee-jerk decisions, because I didn't want to lose people. I didn't want to restart.
Yep.
So I made some changes in my team that I kicked myself for so bad. Those were those couple years, 2018, 17 and 18, were those years for me. And they weren't all bad at all. A lot of it was good, but I came back to how I got refocused was my coaching program, which was my other big milestone in my career. Coaching and Keller Williams have been the two. And they are not fancy schmancy. The coaching program is completely financial based, being so dialed in.
Yep.
And then also relationship.
Yep.
Going very, very deep in your relationships, old school stuff with modern twists.
Right. And I would agree with that. For our listeners and just different folks who may be wanting to know more about that, I would say I've probably sat with over 1,000 real estate agents at this point and interviewed them or talked with them about their business.
Mm-hmm.
In your top 10 in terms of dialing in your financials and understanding what your end game is on that. And that is something to be proud of. And it's not necessarily maybe the sexy, flashy thing that people see,
right.
But it's what goes in your bank account, and it's what allows you to make an impact in your community. And your team, your organization, the Peardon team, is incredibly charitable. How did you get connected with your charity of choice, and what has that done for your relationships in the community?
The Rainbow Connection is the charity that I'm super focused on. It's a local Make-A-Wish Foundation type thing, a local charity that grants wishes to children with life-threatening diseases.
Wow.
And one of my clients, their precious daughter passed away from cancer, and the Rainbow Connection granted her wish. I mean, that's how we got involved, but we do a lot. We do, there's other charities there, but they're kind of our main focus one. And all of our client events and stuff like that, we weave them into the event. So, for example, we do a cookies and breakfast and pictures with Santa I think I've done it 8 or 9 years now. So people can come and get their pictures with Santa, professional pictures, do crafts, have cocoa bar and all that kind of stuff. And then they bring a toy to donate to
the cause.
To the cause. So it's a client event. I'm getting involved with the community. My clients are seeing that, hey, I really have a passion for that, and we're contributing to the Rainbow Connection, and we're also having a client event. So you're getting out there, you're getting FaceTime with your clients, something you would have to do anyways if that's kind of an avenue that you're going down to grow your business, and being able to contribute with the charity.
So, and that's awesome, because what we've really hit on so far are the themes of kind of the grind to get there, the balance that you're identifying today to maintain that, and kind of where you're heading next.
Mm-hmm.
And so with your business and what you've been able to do so far, you consistently, what I would say is you're purposeful with, okay, as things come in front of you by happenstance, you then make it a purposeful outcome that you continue in your business. And I think as entrepreneurs or as leaders, sometimes we have so many things thrown at us, and it can be challenging to kind of cut out the noise and be purposeful. And so I think that's a credit to what you've done. And if you didn't know yourself or attract the certain type of peoples to your organization, you wouldn't be able to do that.
Hiring is the hardest and most important thing that I've had to get practice with
Yeah.
over the years. It's not easy because I'm naturally a salesperson,
Sure.
which is probably most of the people in my industry.
Sure.
And so I just want to focus on that because I'm good at it. But there's so much other stuff in there that you have to become good at in order for you to do the marathon, maintain the run. I think about, and this could apply to a lot of other industries, but we keep talking about real estate because obviously
Naturally.
that's what we know.
Right.
But I think about agents over the years, because this is my 24th year in real estate. I'm like, I wonder what happened to that person. They used to be like so well known.
Right.
They used to help a lot of families. They were really only around for like 4 or 5 years, or they were only around for 2-3 years, or even 10 years. It's like, I'm not working this hard to be around for 5 years.
No, right.
So there's a lot to be said. It's a grind. It's hard. And you can get tapped out. So leverage is important.
Right.
But if you don't align yourself with the right people, it's going to drain you.
Yeah, and you talked about that a little bit in our conversations leading up to today, where you said having standards around your culture. Can you talk to me a little bit about how did you identify those standards? And are you kind of always looking for somebody that fits that? Or is that kind of always in the back of your head, like who can fit the standards that I'm looking for to join this culture or join this organization? Is that kind of always in the back of your mind?
Maybe unconsciously it's been in the back of my mind, but I would say over the past 2 or 3 years, we've really made it like a centerpiece in how we hire. So it can't just be my vision. In order to get buy-in from everybody else, you have to pull them into the vision. And so we did a poll of what are our values, right?
Right.
And we determined our top values, and we like printed them. We have banners in our office. It's in our daily books. Some people put it on their email signature on my team. And then we said, listen, we're hiring around these values.
So to be clear, I just want to, so you started by asking each person, what are your values? And including yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And then you came together and sort of collectively decided what the organizational values were.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yes.
Very
we all discussed it and talked about it and said, okay, let's pare this down into the main things.
Sure.
So now when I'm hiring somebody, we can say, hey, do they fit these values?
Yeah, they
and
either
if
do or they don't. Right.
They're not going to be for us. They're not. It's going to be a non-negotiable. It's too hard. I mean, it's hard enough to keep people.
Doesn't that make it easier at some point? Doesn't it give you the clarity to say yay or nay, and that's okay, instead of trying to put what I call a round peg in a square hole kind of thing?
Yeah. A lot of people have gotten to know me in the industry, and they probably have different opinions about me. I know how I feel. I know who I am in here.
Mm-hmm.
And some people have opinions based on one thing or another, but honestly, I really try to do the right thing all the time. It might not seem like it's the right thing to some people, but it really is, and foundationally. And hiring has been my biggest hurdle. So anything that's the main thing I've been focused on, because when you have to restart from a hire, it's like, now you're going backwards to go forwards. And it's like, we're doing all these other things. Why are we putting ourselves in the position to have to take a couple steps back all the time? So I feel like we've gotten way better at that. And my team is very solid right now. I feel awesome about it.
I noticed that people hire, startup entrepreneurs, business leaders, they hire sometimes out of pain. It's a need instead of maybe a gain of what it could get them. And what you just said right there, I want to highlight is, instead of rushing into that hire, making sure that they're truly a great fit. And we were texting about that like maybe a week or so ago about, is this hire the right fit for what we're doing? And slowing that process, because the cost of a bad hire, let alone the money and the time and the energy, what it could do to the other people on your team or in your organization, right?
Yep.
And so I think to me, that's been one of the biggest lessons I've learned, is slowing down to later speed up. Slowing down the process, identifying the talent to bring aboard out of gain instead of just, oh my gosh, I'm stressed, I'm working 80 hours a week, and I just need somebody to take stuff off my plate.
Right. And the last thing you want to do is get momentum going and then have to fill a void while you're already slammed.
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah, it's been fun. And there's different types. You get different departments that you have to hire for. You have the salespeople that you partner with on your team, and then you have more of an administrative support.
Right.
And those are two different animals.
Right. And I do think to kind of put a button on that conversation, those relationships, those standards, what you're focused on, it really comes down to reputation. Whether you're creating the reputation you want or maintaining what you have. And anytime you kind of deviate from that, it may show up later, like your reputation's been maybe jeopardized or changed. Would you agree with that?
100%. Like I said before, nobody's perfect.
Sure.
And some people are better fit elsewhere or whatever. I have made a lot of mistakes in that process, but I think that I've learned something with every mistake. So it's worth it there.
Yeah. Of course.
To learn and make a little pivot and try to do better the next time.
Talk to me a little bit about mentors. You've talked about your coaching. You've talked about, it sounds like you attempt and you look to be a mentor to the people in your organization too, based on the way you're speaking today. Who's been 2 or 3 mentors who have really impacted your business or your life, personally or professionally?
I've had several, and I think the owner of my coaching company that I belong to, he always says you have to have 10 mentors in your life minimum, and it might just be the mentor that you needed at that moment in time, that place that you're at, and it definitely needs to be personal too.
Right.
Have personal. So mine started when I was young. I had a middle school counselor that was a really awesome staple in my life. She helped me through a rough time when I was an adolescent, and we always stayed in touch. So she always gave great advice and always would counsel with me. And I stayed in touch with her throughout all of my adulthood. She's actually referred me several clients. She's helped me with counseling sessions with my own children. She helped with the transition when we moved a few years ago. She just always been really good, very level-headed voice that I could call anytime for anything. So she's been around for a while. Then her name is Nancy. And then my mom, she's been an awesome rock in my life. She was a single mom, so talk about a juggling act,
Sure.
And she's part of my team now, so it's come full circle.
Yeah.
So she's always been great, and interesting dynamic now working together, but it works. And then professionally, Kendra Cook is my business coach, and she actually heads the real estate division of the coaching company I belong to, and she has helped me in every aspect, kept me on track with all those relationship building things that I'm kind of focused on, and that's where we build our main pillar of business from, to helping me with Bible study, wine drinking buddy.
Yeah,
I mean, she just very real, and she's shared pain with me over the years, so I feel super connected with her, and she's just a great person. Anytime I need advice on something, I will give her a call.
Yeah, because and what I hear in that is that through the different stages, some of them have maintained through the years and others have come timely as needed, if you will. Mm-hmm. But the key there is understanding that you're not the first businesswoman who's wanted to be successful or raise a family or achieve. Mm-hmm. And so it's looking for clues, because success leaves clues, right? How did you do it? What did that look like? I'm calling you right now to just vent. I'm not looking for advice necessarily. And you have that core group of people. And I think sometimes in business and in leadership, it can feel lonely at the top, but it doesn't have to be.
That's the beauty of masterminding with other top people in your industry. And I mean, the stories I've heard and everything, it just kind of brings it all down to the real. So I that's a great thing about Keller Williams.
Yeah.
Is you have the opportunity to mastermind with so many people that have been there before you.
Right.
And they're willing to share the stories and things that they've screwed up on in order to help people maybe avoid that in the future.
Right.
Some of the things you just have to feel yourself in order to really make the change long term. But other things, if you can get tips and tricks and, stories through your masterminding, that's been huge.
Yeah. Very cool. Want to shift one more time sort of toward the back end of our talk today.
Okay.
So through your story today, you've been talking a lot about what you've learned, right? So talk to our audience a little bit about, you're starting this business, you're going and growing. What's that learning curve look like? You mentioned earlier training as the most important thing or lesson you've learned. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Training myself or training members of my team?
Well, both, because you've talked about what type of training you had on the front end of your career and how that's now permeated in almost to your culture of your organization. You're a training organization. You have systems, you have models, you have policies and procedures. And so you're looking for somebody who's learning based to do that, right? So talk to me about how does that show up in your dialogues? Do you sit down with quarterly trainings? How do you take the coaching you're learning and bring that back to your team or your organization consistently?
I think I've spent like hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars over the past 20 years getting training for myself. Coaching being the best investment. It's returned 20-fold. But I think that once you think you know it all, that's the beginning of the end for you. I'm still learning, and I've closed thousands of transactions, and every day I'm like, whoa, haven't had that one before. But I really think it keeps you fertilizer to your brain, So I'm always going to training events. The coaching thing is constant. Learning, rereading books I've read 3 or 4 times, not feeling like I'm like too far along in my career to really continue training. Yeah. So for myself, I'm constantly doing that. And this has been a struggle bringing it into my team. So the key thing is you have to have people who are coachable and who want to learn. What happens in our industry, once agents start to get pretty good at their job, they start to think, well, I don't need training anymore. Yeah. Oh, I'm beyond that. Yep. All that kind of stuff. And it's come back to burn me big time. So that's one of the things that's coachable in our values.
Right.
But we do a lot of it strategic, systematic, tactical things because otherwise we won't do them. And that's been one of the things. If we don't have it in place as a system or planned, we get too busy with other things. So we do a quarterly goal setting meeting where we do a SWOT analysis, which is see what our strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats are every quarter.
Absolutely. How
how we need to make adjustments, how we need to ramp things up, other things that might be coming down the pike that we need to be aware of in our industry. So we do that collectively together. Once a year, we do it as where we're resetting our goals. And then where I found is okay, if you just set your goals and you don't constantly revisit them, you're not going to hit them and you're going to forget about them.
Yep.
So we have a monthly meeting where we really dive into where we're at on the barometer. We have a lot of tracking things that we utilize, systematically, like numbers. And then also, we set personal goals and stuff like that. For example, if a team member of mine, their goal is to lose 20 pounds and they're going to do it by going to the gym 4 times a week. We have people where they have to text me after they, leave the gym, or they have to text my director of operations after they leave the gym. We're trying to do little habits to keep people on task. And then I personally have a one-on-one meeting every month with our team members so we can revisit, okay, how are you doing with your goals? What are the adjustments you need to make? We review their personal budget with them. So we have a very intimate relationship when it comes to me being able to help them really get grounded financially.
Nice.
Because that's what my coaching program did for me. and got me to the end. So we're constantly trying to revisit our goals and not forget about them.
So it sounds like there's this balance of like structure and goals and accountability, as well as care.
Yeah, I really
And so
care.
it's that balance. And actually, I would even go as far to say is you're accountable and structured with these fierce conversations because you care.
Yeah, I'm getting better at the fierce conversations. That's one thing has been my biggest hang up as a leader. You know, it's like, it's tough for me. I want to be nice to people, but sometimes they just need to hear something.
Yep. Even
if they get mad at me and leave, I'm not doing them any good if they're not hearing it. So,
see, that's what I love about you. Okay. You're having great success. You're investing in your organization and people. You're coming from contribution. I can say personally with our relationship, you've reached out through the years and said, you're doing great. Keep your head up. How can I help you? What do you need? Right. And I really do appreciate that. So what I'd like to ask next is talk to me about how you're perceived. You've found and worked for and earned success. And we were talking in that perception versus reality. What do you mean by that in terms of like how you're perceived in that internal dialogue that goes into Stacy's head before a meeting, an appointment, a huddle, a staff all call?
I feel like with my clients, I'm perceived well, and I never really have issues with that. I did when I was younger,
Sure,
but I don't now. My perception issues are with other agents in my industry and people on my team. And I don't even know if it's just in my own mind. You know, I might be making it up or whatever, but I feel like a lot of the actions I should have taken that would have really benefited me and the whole organization, I didn't take because I was afraid about how other people were perceiving me. Like, for example, if we're really dialed in to trimming our costs and being a profitable organization, in my mind, I think people on my team are going to think I'm greedy. Like, I want more money for me. That's why we're trimming costs. When in reality, well, yeah, nobody wants to work for free. But in reality, that frees up revenue for other things that we can reinvest in.
Right.
Other monies we can give back to charity. Other opportunities. Healthy companies, like, that's how you're going to survive.
Right.
You know, so like that's a perception I would have. Mm-hmm. Or, you know, if somebody left my team, I would think, well, now they're going to, you know, all these other people in my peers are going to think that I wasn't a good leader or I had a crappy team or something like that. When in actuality, I know I don't, but it like makes me hang on to somebody that I shouldn't have hung on to. Just because I didn't want to be perceived that way.
Again, it comes back to your core values, your standards, what you're looking for. Because if you try and make everybody else happy, not only will you not make them happy, you won't be happy. And it sounds
Great
like
advice.
It sounds like, well, it's not even, it's just a conversation from your note there.
Right.
That you hit out on and kind of brought to light. What would you have done differently from the beginning?
I would have slowed down a little. I would have spent way more attention on my relationships and deepening those relationships with clients, channel accounts, other business professionals, my team, and not let all the noise of numbers, trophies, websites you could sign up for, Zillow, home this, .com that.
Right.
Like, just stay true to what I know works. I would have made those tougher phone calls to people that were bigger than me that I wanted to meet or learn or know about or just be in relationship with. And I was afraid to figure out a way to meet them because I didn't think they'd want to meet me. And all these people that I see, like, they have some key relationships that have been big game changers for them. And some have just been luck, but some obtain them by making the difficult phone calls and reaching out. And I just would have been better at having like those fierce conversations that we talked about.
Yeah.
Easier. And I think like a lot of it is like, if you can preface that one of those conversations is coming before they come with the individual, then you're not just like hitting them in the face with it.
Right. Blindsiding them.
Yes.
Right.
So say, hey, have like a code word, pineapple.
Yeah.
Okay. Can we have a pineapple? It's like prickly on the outside, but sweet on the inside. Can we have a pineapple conversation here?
Nice. Good analogy.
Where it's going to hurt a little.
Yep.
But in the end, it's for the better of everything.
Right. Like every rose has its thorn. Idea.
Yeah. There
Cool.
you go.
Okay. If 18-year-old Stacy was looking at you today, would you be proud?
Heck yeah. I couldn't figure out how to get gas in my car at 18. I was literally scraping up quarters. I remember like, how am I even going to get enough money to like put a couple gallons of gas in my car?
And now today your organization's donating thousands of dollars to charitable organizations that are making a difference in people's lives.
Only just beginning with that part. Like, to me, that's the end game.
Let's wrap with what's next? What's next for Stacy? Whether it's a goal, a vision you have, what's the next 5 years look like?
So we have plans to break through that little ceiling that we were talking about, and how we're going to do it is by being more efficient. So efficiency is our main focus going forward. Again, not having a million people do just a little, having our good core people doing a lot. So we're filling up the gas tank. And with that, I think we're going to be breaking through that ceiling and being able to, have some meat there to do better things. Really, it's just helping a few other people get what their goals are, maintaining my run so that I could, help my family be financially secure and all of that, but just focusing and having a little more fun. I think that too. That's
awesome.
Yeah.
That's phenomenal. And I loved what you ended there with, having some fun.
Yeah.
And enjoying the ride, because I haven't been to many life milestones for people, whether it's a wedding or it's a retirement party or it's even, somebody else's maybe funeral, right? And they're talking about, I wish they would have spent more time working. It's usually around the people they impacted, the life they lived, and sort of what they were able to accomplish for those that they loved, right? And that's what I'm hearing.
You can do it. I mean, if you're like a real estate agent, for example, listening to this, and you are doing that grind and you're missing out on your kids' games and you're missing out on things. I've been there. That's happened to me, but not anymore. I mean, I will lose a client if it means going to my kid's soccer game or going to a client's house. I will lose the client.
Yeah.
And you'll make it up somehow.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I really appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate you. You're doing
you.
an amazing job.
Thank you. It's the team around me too, right? So thank you so much. I appreciate your energy, time, and we'll talk soon again, okay?
Thank you.
So that's a wrap with my conversation with Stacy Peardon. A big thank you to you again, Stacy, for all your help and leadership through the years. If you, the audience, felt any value in today's content, be sure to subscribe so you never miss a lesson to be the leader you deserve to be. Until next time, lead on.